It's definitely not 2 weeks ago, but this is This Week in Film. I'm Nick Panunto, joined this time by superfan Dan Moran.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Dan, you coming in third string it again?
That's all right. Hey, happens.
Love having you on the show. Your insight is invaluable, and you always participate in RaysRayndomRayquest. And you actually had an answer for last week's, or 3 weeks ago's question.
Yep.
Which was name a movie.
Oh, your favorite sports movie?
Favorite sports movie,
That isn't The Sandlot.
Well, let's hold off on that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're not going to do that yet.
Save on that. But
okay,
you did have an answer for the week before that, which was name a movie that takes place in one setting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that movie, and it could be, if I remember correctly, it could be a movie you liked or didn't like, and that,
right.
My answer was Phone Booth, starring Colin Farrell, and that was terrible.
Who knew?
Yeah. Who could have guessed?
Right. Well, it's a new week. I think it's week 37 of the show, something
we'll
like
go
that.
With that.
And you didn't realize it, but this week has a special theme. You'll find out when we get to my movie, which you don't know what it is.
All right. Wait for it.
But Dan, what did you see this week?
This week, I finally got around to watching John Wick, starring Keanu Reeves and a whole bunch of random people that are now famous for other things.
Great movie.
John Wick was directed by Chad Stahelski and David Leitch, and written by Derek Kolstad. And what's interesting about that is that none of these guys have ever directed or written pretty much anything else that doesn't have to do with John Wick up until this point. Chad Stahelski has been a stunt coordinator on about 1 million movies.
Yeah.
So he's done the stunts for 300, V for Vendetta, The Expendables 2, a favor of 12-year-old Dan Moran, Ninja Assassin, which is just stupid fun.
I did not enjoy Ninja Assassin.
Oh, it's all right. But yeah,
I thought it was going to be so much more fun than it was, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, then you realize you're not 12 anymore.
Right.
But yeah, so the guy's never done any sort of directing, but this kind of movie seems perfect for him. So just to kind of start off, like going back a little bit with John Wick, I saw the previews and I was like, there is no way I am interested in seeing this movie.
I agree.
Yeah, and then reviews started trickling in from random people that saw it, and everybody said it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more. It's pretty perfect, and the fact that it was only about 1 hour and 35 minutes really helped out for me wanting to sit down and watch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that worked out. But so to fill in people who haven't seen it, which if you haven't, you really should at this point.
Yeah.
John Wick is Keanu Reeves, and he's a former hitman who got out of the game for a woman, and he gets pulled back in.
Always for a woman.
Yep. Yeah, and they harp on that point too.
Yeah.
So it's like, so the movie starts off kind of like an action version of Up. So it's just it is so sad in the beginning, but it's also like in the very beginning it kind of grabs you right away because Keanu Reeves is in this SUV and he crashes and he rolls out all bloody, and he's watching this video on his cell phone of his wife, and then it cuts to, I guess
3 weeks earlier.
Yeah, 3 weeks earlier or whatever. So it kind of grabs you right away. You're like right away. You're like, yeah, I'm in now. It's kind of like if you've watched what's that? Breaking Bad, like episode 1, scene 1. It starts off, with a pair of pants flying through the air, and then a guy driving an RV in his underwear with a gas mask, and you're like, yeah, I know where I'm going to be for the next 47 minutes.
Right.
So
that's the only episode of Breaking Bad that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So Nick, it didn't grab Nick for episode 2, but episode 1 he was in. But
I watched the first episode of Breaking Bad and went, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm all right. I bet things get worse.
Yep, exactly. So it kind of like also John Wick kind of evolved for me. At first, I'm like, I don't want to see this movie, and then I heard, oh, he gets back in the game because somebody killed his dog, and you're like, man, that's even more stupid. But then you start watching it, and it's just like, okay, you're like, okay, his wife just died.
Yeah.
Okay, it was the final gift from his wife, this dog, and then I have owned beagles for 2/3 of my life, so I find out that it's a beagle puppy, and I'm in. I'm like, absolutely. I could not do anything that John Wick does, but I would certainly fight and get knocked out after 30 seconds if somebody killed my beagle puppy.
I feel like if anybody killed a puppy,
yeah,
it would be like, what happens to that poor dog?
Yeah, right. I know,
and it's like the next day.
Yeah,
too. Like
I know,
Keanu Reeves has the dog for like a day.
Yeah. And he's all about it, and he's just like, all right, yeah.
Like he falls in love with the dog almost immediately, you know, and then Theon Greyjoy shows up.
Yeah, and he's mad about losing his junk, so he kills the dog. And so this movie clearly happened between the first and second Matrix movies because Keanu Reeves knows both Russian and Kung Fu, so they loaded up those programs for him before this movie. So then it's funny. So everything happens. You know, the dog, his wife dies. He gets the dog. The dog dies right away. So ends up being. Go ahead.
And then they steal his car.
And then they steal his car. It's this awesome 1970 Mustang.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of that. And as you know, some people know, Nick knows, I'm a new father, so I'm kind of an estrogen mess. So it's the fact that I didn't shed a tear when that dog died and his wife died and all that was a miracle on the level of the stigmata, pretty much. And if there had been one more thing, you know, in there, like if you had found out like his wife was pregnant when she died or something like that,
right,
I would have been an inconsolable mess. Like, I mean, upstairs in sweatpants with the Riesling and the Ben and Jerry's, just sobbing. But luckily,
there's not a lot of action movies that start.
Yeah, like that.
But it locks you in. Like you said, it locks you in where you're like, all right, where's this gonna go?
Yeah, exactly. And then so, you know, John Wick kind of gets back into the game, and as Nick said, Theon Greyjoy is the one that steals his car and kills his dog, and it turns out that he's the son of this Russian mobster who Keanu Reeves used to kind of do work for.
Yeah,
and he got out of the game, and the Russian mobster has this great scene where he's talking about how, like, who John Wick is to his son and just describing he's a man of singular focus and will, you know, everything that the son is not. Mm-hmm. And and you know, he does this whole scene while Keanu Reeves is busting the floor in his basement to get to his old bag of tricks.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess John Wick poured 4 tons of concrete onto his gold coins and guns.
Right. So I guess that's one of my questions. So he has guns and then he has a stack of gold coins, which is apparently the currency for everything. And I'm like, are those like gold coins? Are they like Chuck E. Cheese tokens, like for assassins?
Well, I think that's one of the things I really liked about this movie. Like, this movie is a great example of world building, where there is this whole underworld that exists. They have their own currency, they have their own language, you know, like all that stuff. They have their own buildings and, like, you know, a code of ethics that you can't violate, right, without extreme repercussions. And it all exists side by side with our everyday world. And basically the idea at the beginning of the movie is that Keanu Reeves has, like, once you're in the underworld, you can't get out. And Keanu Reeves was able to make that transition. Yeah. Because John Wick is of singular focus and and he can accomplish anything he puts his mind to. And so he gets out for his wife. And then, you know, he's got to go back for one more job. Yeah, right. Kind of thing. You know?
Who hasn't seen that scenario played out?
That scene with John Leguizamo, who has put on some weight. We all have. And but where he's like, "Where'd you get this car?" And he's like, "I don't want anything." And then he's waiting for John Wick.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. It's
like
amazing.
that's another perfect example of establishing a character without having to literally explain what he is, which they then do in the next scene. But like
you
understand how dangerous John Wick is almost immediately.
Yeah, because in that scene, I remember John Leguizamo says, his dad will understand.
Yeah.
And so then, the mobster calls him and he's like, I heard you struck my son. Why? He's like, oh, well, he stole John Wick's car and killed his dog. And then mobster just goes, oh.
Yeah.
And hung up.
and hangs up.
You're like, all right.
Yeah, you're like, I can't wait to see where this goes.
Yeah, so it just, the action scenes are great. The fight scenes are great. It makes sense. Coming from the guy who worked on movies like V for Vendetta and The Matrix and that sort of thing. So I like the fight scenes because a lot of them, a lot of action movies that have heavy fight scenes like that can end up being really shaky and almost make you like nauseous and kind of lose your sense of where you are.
Yeah.
And John Wick did a great job of not doing that.
There's one sequence, the sequence when they're in the Russian club where Keanu's trying to get to him.
Yeah, on the dance floor part.
Yeah, where he gets thrown from the balcony.
Yes.
Onto that. It's the other thing I like is that John Wick takes damage, like gets the crap beat out of him. But that one shot where he gets thrown over the balcony and the camera like falls with him, and you. In a normal movie, it would have taken him 10 seconds to hit the ground. There would have been that slow motion, whoa, fall. But like in this scene, it's just wham. Yeah, and like the camera, like the sudden stop, like how fast and how hard he hits.
Well, we
the
only
ground.
have an hour and 35 minutes, so we gotta make it fit. But I agree with you in that you kind of feel the impact and it feels a little bit more real.
Yeah,
and then they throw a bone to like the key guy from The Matrix 2 and he's the doctor that stitches him up after he takes some damage.
Oh my God, you're right. That is that guy.
Yeah. So that's the other thing, funny thing. So
I didn't recognize him without all the white.
Yeah. So the funny thing is like, with this movie, there's a lot of random people in it that you've seen in other things, but you're like, oh, I remember that guy.
Yeah.
Like I think the one guy's name is he's the head of the cleaning crew. He's like Patrick David Kelly or David Patrick Kelly. He plays Sully in Commando. Anybody who's familiar with The Crow, he played T-Bird in The Crow, and he was also the main antagonist in The Warriors.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of like
The Warriors.
So The Warriors is an okay movie, but it's one of those movies you should probably watch. I felt I liked that I watched it so I can get the references now.
Right.
But I'm glad that I never have to watch it again.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of why it feels like a movie that is bigger than the movie. Like the idea of the movie is better than the movie itself, kind of a thing. Like where there's just a few iconic, like really iconic scenes.
Yeah, and Nick just did the motion where he's clinking the bottles together from the Warriors. For those of us who can't see, but which is funny because every time that guy is in a movie, now I start to look to see if people involved with the movie are fans of the Warriors, and it turns out Brandon Lee was a fan of the Warrior, a huge fan, so he really wanted him in The Crow, and he actually does that bottle clicking motion as he kills T-Bird in that movie. So it's just so that guy's in there.
I watched The Crow not too long ago.
It really holds up.
It really does.
It
really does.
Sorry.
What?
I didn't. So it really does hold up.
And we're back.
Yeah, and but so speaking of people who are famous for other things now, they have Theon Greyjoy's little sidekick is the Kingpin's lawyer from season 1 of Daredevil.
He's in right.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
the guy who runs the hotel is the
guy from The Wire. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Kevin Nash is in there. He's the guy who guards the club that John Wick gives the night off.
Oh yeah, you're right.
To kind of sneak in. Yeah. So you're just like, at every turn you're like, oh man. And at one point, looking at the cleaning crew, I'm like, I think that's J.K. Simmons, but at that point I think I was just looking for character actors everywhere.
I don't think that's him in that.
No, and I looked in it. It's
Willem Dafoe is in
Willem
it.
Dafoe is in it. He's great. The assassin girl that's in it was pretty good.
She's in something else. I can't remember.
I was looking, and it's not anything I recognize. She was apparently in a Wonder Woman TV movie in 2011, but I think she was in something else, but like not huge, but something you might recognize.
Every woman kind of thing. Just has a generic.
Yeah.
look.
But so yeah, I mean, in the end, it was just a great action movie. About an hour and a half long. So
it's in and out.
Yeah, in and out. No time for character development, but you don't care. It's like a John Hughes action movie. Like John Hughes, you're like, there's no reason that guy should get that girl, but I don't care because it's fun.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. I watched that movie. I was laid up. I had knee surgery, and that weekend I watched 20-some movies, and that was on the list. And I sent my friend Matt a message saying, "Hey, I'm gonna watch that latest Keanu Reeves disaster, John Wick." And he's like, "Oh, well, tell me how it is," because nobody saw it in theaters because it had the worst marketing ever.
Yeah,
and so I'm texting, I'm like live tweeting it to my friend, and then all of a sudden I go, "This movie's great! Like this movie is great! I can't believe how good this is. You should be watching it right now." Like there was like I definitely started it with so much cynicism, just expecting a really bad Keanu Reeves shoot 'em up kind of movie, and almost immediately I was turned around on it. I'm like, this is great. And then for the rest of the movie, I kept waiting for it to suck, and it never did.
Yeah. And I guess the one thing that I guess I would change about it, if anything at all, was that the main kind of villain wasn't that great.
Yeah, no. That's the one thing that's a little disappointing about it, is he kind of just chases him around.
Yeah, right.
And then he catches him, and then he's like, "All right, we'll see you later," and then he's got to chase him around again.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's
the ending. The ending was kind of disappointing, a little disappointing, but the whole movie.
Yeah, when you expected it to be terrible, the ending is not bad.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I wanted to mention is, it's like so. He kind of accomplishes his goal sooner than you would think. Catching Theon Greyjoy.
Yeah.
And then there's still more movie left, and you're like, well, what's gonna happen now?
Right. Yeah.
So.
Well, it becomes about pride, because he catches Theon Greyjoy, but before he does, like the mob boss calls him and says, "Let's just let this end. Like, you're out. I just want to be done. Let's end this." And Keanu Reeves can't let it go.
Right. And the mob boss, it's funny because he's just sitting there smoking a joint for some reason, because that's apparently what Russian mobsters do. But it's funny though, because spoiler alert, I was looking on Google and I was searching for the dog to show my wife, and I saw John Wick 2 has a better dog and a better villain. So
that's coming out next year, right?
So again, spoiler alert, there's a John Wick 2. But you should have probably known that anyway.
Yeah. Well, great choice, Dan.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
I love an awesome Keanu Reeves action movie.
Who doesn't?
Which brings me to the movie that I chose. The year is 1995. It's 4 years before The Matrix and 4 years after Point Break. This week, I watched Johnny Mnemonic, the train wreck with Keanu Reeves.
Oh, that is... Wow.
I've got to say, this movie was terrible, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen this, and I loved it, but it was so bad.
And I got to tell you, I remember I watched it. I can't remember much about this movie because I watched it once and then remember never watching it again.
I watched it hours ago and can't really remember that much about it. It is.
So it's the one where he basically is like a human hard drive, right?
He's like a USB drive.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The movie's it stars Keanu Reeves, Ice-T, Dolph Lundgren, Dina Meyer, who we will now just refer to as Felicity.
Okay, all right.
Because that's what all my notes I just wrote down. Why is Felicity doing this? But Dina Meyer was, she was in Starship Troopers. She's like the chick that's not Denise Richards.
Oh, yeah, the one who eventually gets Casper Van Dien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, she gets like blown up, right?
Right, but before that, yeah.
Oh, right.
They
Yeah. And because it's a movie from 1995, Henry Rollins is also in it.
Oh, okay.
And he, of course, plays a doctor. He wears glasses, so you can see how smart he is.
Yeah, he's very intelligent.
So anyway, the movie takes place in the year 2021. It's a dystopian future where society has been ruined by the internet and television.
Huh.
Keanu Reeves plays a smuggler who has an implant in his brain which allows him to upload classified or lets him upload any kind of data into his brain. But because he's a smuggler, he works for criminals who like steal corporate data and whatnot. He pays for whoever they work. He pays for whoever. I can't even talk. He works for whoever pays him.
So he's a mercenary guy.
Since he's a mercenary smuggler kind of thing. In order to get this implanted into Keanu's head, they had to remove his long-term memories. So he doesn't know who he is, but it doesn't matter because it only comes up like twice in the movie. All right. So the movie starts. Keanu Reeves is forced to go on one last ride because the guy he works for is ripping him off. But this time there's trouble. Normally his brain can hold up to 160 gigabytes of data. A totally reasonable and excessive amount for 1995.
Yeah.
1995, I think my parents' computer had a 4 gigabyte hard drive. So 160 gigabytes is like, wow.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
But this time his client needs 300 some gigabytes. And I don't know about you, but when I put too much data on my hard drive, it, just starts to hurt the computer. It can still hold it like a suitcase that's overflow. It doesn't just say, no more.
Yeah. But your computer doesn't get a nosebleed, right?
Right, yeah. So that's what happens. It's not a problem for Keanu. He fits all of the data into his brain in the funniest looking scene you've ever seen. Hilarious pun. And so he's sitting in like a chair with this crazy virtual reality helmet on, and he's just like gripping the sides of the chair.
So Johnny Mnemonic was in 1995?
Yeah.
So we're talking like right around Lawnmower Man, Virtuosity, like...
Yeah. It's right after the internet really happened and they made all those internet-ish movies.
Yeah, and we were promised that virtual reality was going to be basically what it is now.
Yeah, I believe Nintendo's Virtual Boy had just failed.
Oh, okay. All right.
Or was about to. So Keanu's sitting in this chair and they're implanting his brain and it looks like he's taking a crap, but it's the world's biggest crap and so much is because he's just going, you can't see his eyes, you just see his mouth and he's just grimacing while screaming.
Oh man.
For like a minute.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It is so funny.
That sounds like, it reminds me of if you've ever seen Interstellar when McConaughey's falling through the space library and he's like, and I think he's supposed to be cold, but it just sounds to me like he's like the dropping loads guy from Howard Stern. Like I literally remember saying in the theater, dropping loads in the space library. So anyway,
so he gets all the information uploaded into his brain. He goes to the bathroom and has a seizure. That's where his nose is bleeding and whatnot.
Okay.
And while he's in there trying to compose himself, all these Yakuza guys break into the hotel room where this deal went down and start shooting up the place. This one dude has laser string that he can cut.
Does he whip around?
It's it looks like a lightsaber that's just a rope. Basically, because it can cut through anything. And
yeah.
But he uses it like garrote wire.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so the gunfight happens. Keanu comes out and realizes there's a lot more going on here.
Is that the line?
No, he doesn't say that. That's just me.
Oh, okay, cool.
The Yakuza are working for a drug company, which the drug company created this technology disease called the black shakes. Keanu Reeves has the cure in his head, and he's basically just a conduit. He's just transferring it for somebody. But so anyway, in order to get out of the building, Keanu puts on this amazing disguise where he basically just puts on glasses and a long hair but short wig.
Oh, okay.
Down to his neck.
Yeah.
And then just walks like a weirdo out of the hotel.
Because it's
the worst disguise you've ever seen. And
totally inconspicuous.
It's everyone is watching him walk out of the building and watch because he's in a hotel, and as he's walking out, just everyone is just looking at him like, who's this guy? So he takes the Concorde, which was still in flight in 1995. He takes the Concorde to New Jersey, which is a giant dump, and not much has changed in the movie. Slam.
Oh, Jersey.
All right. So anyway, because Keanu's head is overloaded, he's got 24 hours to get the data out, or his brain is going to die, or he's going to die. So, and they keep reminding you of this because he keeps saying it, and he keeps having seizures. But the other thing is, this entire movie takes place at night. It's never day. So that means, like, he took the flight from. He's either in Japan or China because they really don't make that clear. And he takes the Concorde from there to New Jersey, and then for the rest of the movie, it's just night of that same day.
Oh, okay.
And every 20 minutes, he has another seizure where they show the internet.
They just have to remind you that his brain's overloaded.
Yeah. Keanu gets double-crossed, and he fights his way out of a bad time. Then he makes friends with Ice-T. Ice-T is the leader of the poor people. They live in a bridge because New Jersey is a terrible place.
Okay.
And is also in the future. Jersey Slam.
People still living in bridges in the future. Okay.
So Ice-T leaves. Keanu gets captured by the Yakuza and then gets rescued by Felicity. And she, after Felicity saves him, she takes him to Dr. Henry Rollins to get the thing out of his head. So while they're dealing with Henry Rollins, they cut to the Yakuza, who are crazy mad that I was about to call him John Wick, that Keanu is getting away, or they're not accomplishing their goal of getting Keanu's head. They just want to take his head off.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's where the data is, and then they can take it wherever they want.
Oh, okay, because it's still inside the implant. So it's not like if his brain dies, then
his
then
brain,
he'll lose the thing.
implant just lets it store it into his brain. I think is how it works. So they basically just want the brain.
Yeah, okay.
And it's easier just to take the head. It's science.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Yakuza guys are really bad, so they hire Dolph Lundgren, who plays a long-haired religious nut named the Street Preacher. The only reason I know that is because that's what his title is in the IMDb.
Oh, okay.
His job is to hunt down Keanu Reeves, but everyone he comes across, he kills in some kind of Jesus-y way. Like he nails so many people through the hands with nails to like stick them to the wall, including Felicity, who is fine, by the way. She pulls the nail out and is ready to go.
Really cool, yeah.
So the movie goes on for a while. Eventually, Keanu and Felicity meet up with Ice-T. Ice-T says, "We can help you. Let's go meet Jones. He's an ex-military computer hacker."
Oh.
Jones is a dolphin.
Oh. What? What?
He's a dolphin connected to computers.
So... Okay.
He's connected to the computers by wires. It's horrifying.
Wow.
It's a horrible, terrifying image of this dolphin in an aquarium the size of a dolphin.
So how much time elapses in real life between Ice-T doing this movie with the cyber dolphin and then becoming a half kangaroo and tank girl? Did he get inspired by the cyber dolphin?
When was Tank Girl? Tank Girl feels like 93.
Yeah, okay. So it might have been beforehand. He's like, I don't want to be a creature.
I don't think I've ever seen Tank Girl.
No,
I reference it all the time, but I don't think I've ever seen it. So anyway, this horrible, horrible dolphin creature is connected to computers. It's got red eyes and it blasts concentrated sonar at people. It piss it off.
Oh God.
So then for whatever reason, the dolphin helps Keanu and then begins the worst looking CGI sequence you have ever seen.
Is this another visualization of what the internet is?
Yeah, basically.
Oh, okay.
Well, because the dolphin is helping Keanu Reeves hack into his mind in order to get to the cure for the disease that they're then going to use the dolphin to broadcast to the world so that the world can cure the black shakes.
Oh, okay. Oh, good.
Then the movie ends. It was great.
I'm looking at this dolphin right now, and my God,
isn't it scary? It's like the scariest thing.
It's it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see.
So, Oh man.
Yeah, he's got red eyes, wires coming out of its like head.
Yeah,
like it's just
that's a terrifying creature.
oh man, and the tank it's in, it like makes SeaWorld seem like a luxury for animals. Just general critiques. The movie's very, very disjointed. Like it feels like they just made scenes and put them all together. And some of the scenes just feel like they were chopped in the beginning and chopped from the end because they're just talking and then all of a sudden they're somewhere else a lot of times. And then finally, my last thing that I'm going to say is Keanu Reeves' character is just called Johnny.
All right.
They don't call him Johnny Mnemonic. They just call him Johnny. And at one point,
like he
makes up a last name like Johnny Smith. Why is the movie called Johnny Mnemonic?
If it's never said.
Yeah, like a mnemonic is something you use to like remember something.
Yeah, right.
And I know the movie's about his brain.
Yeah,
but like
that's a bit of a stretch. But yeah,
you know, like is that what they were going for? Because the title doesn't rhyme or anything.
Yeah,
like
right.
Johnny Mnemonic.
Right. I think it was just another way to make Keanu Reeves play another person named Johnny. So you got Johnny Utah, you got John Wick, you got Johnny Mnemonic. Yeah.
Oh, I have one more thing. So the movie was directed by Robert Luongo. It's the first film he ever made. Apparently, he's a celebrated artist from the 80s. Like he was very popular in the 80s.
Like a visual artist?
Yeah, like paintings and stuff, I guess. Right. I didn't look into it too much. But according to Wikipedia, you can see a bunch of his art on the walls of Patrick Bateman's apartment in American Psycho.
Oh, all right.
Which is, the movie's all 80s.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's the only movie that this guy has ever directed, and it's a scene. It's
oh man,
it's so strange because it exists. Like 95, I think, is the same year that Batman Forever came out. Like Jurassic Park was 2 years prior. The Matrix was just 4 years away, which in movie
it
doesn't sound like a whole lot, but like in terms of special effects and this is basically almost the same concept where computers and stuff, like a person lives inside a computer
and Keanu Reeves has seizures
and stuff. Like there's no way that the Wachowskis didn't take some inspiration from this. Because there are people in the movie that have implants all over their bodies, and it looks just like
the battery
implants
thing
from in the Matrix and stuff.
Yeah, where they hook them up to get their human battery thing.
Yeah, exactly. But it is no Matrix. The fight scenes are so slow and boring. Like Keanu Reeves is like punching and kicking. Oh, the other thing, and I wanted to mention, one other final thing. So John Wick, I think, is one of the movies that really knows how to use Keanu Reeves, where he does a lot of good action, but doesn't have a lot of lines.
Yeah,
because Keanu Reeves is not a very good actor.
No.
But he's great at what he does.
You're right. Yeah.
This movie, Keanu Reeves has tons of lines, and it looks like he's always looking off set to read them.
It's before they figured out how to use Keanu Reeves. Yeah.
At one point, he's in a subway with Felicity, and they're like yelling back and forth, and he goes, "I need to get this stuff out of my head because if I don't, I'm gonna die."
he pauses. Let's just drive home the point that his head's full. So
right, yeah, that's one of the 15 times that they make sure you're aware of that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, like as the movie goes on, he looks more and more tired, but it doesn't look like he's gonna die any minute now because it's never been day.
Yep.
But
I think that they did figure out one piece of Keanu Reeves at this point. At this point, they realized that Keanu Reeves can only exist in movies if he's wearing a black suit of some kind.
He does wear a black suit.
Yeah, movie. That. What's it? The Devil's Advocate.
Yeah.
Obviously, John Wick.
Devil's Advocate, I
Matrix.
think, came out either right after or right before it.
Yeah, Devil's Advocate was 95 or 96, I think.
There was another movie that came out. I'm going to look it up. But Keanu Reeves works, man. He gets tons and tons of movies. And I enjoy nearly all of them.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like he's a pretty decent dude.
Yeah.
Like off screen and that sort of thing. So you kind of root for him, but you just know what he is.
Oh, the year before, 94, Speed.
Oh, wow. So, okay.
So he did, let's see. If we're going to start at Point Break and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey were the same year. Then My Own Private Idaho, which is supposed to be pretty good. I've never seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Then Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I hear is just a tour de force of Keanu Reeves trying to act.
Yeah, and he's not in it a whole lot. In a ton, yeah.
Then he did Much Ado About Nothing. I guess that's another him trying to act.
Yeah.
Then Speed, Johnny Mnemonic, and A Walk in the Clouds. Chain Reaction, Feeling Minnesota, Devil's Advocate. The Last Time I Committed Suicide, which I think I saw. Mm-hmm. Then The Matrix, which was huge.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 2000s happened. I won't go further than that.
Yeah.
But guy works.
Yeah.
But like you could tell when he starts making that shift to, I'm just going to really just do action movies where I don't have to talk a lot.
Well, yeah. I mean, he figured himself out.
Yeah.
You know, directors figured him out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
And he's always got cool hair.
Yeah. In the end, would you recommend Johnny Mnemonic?
I would. I think everybody should watch Johnny Mnemonic, especially like today, because it does predict certain things about modern day.
Yeah, because
because it does, it does like the video chat and AT&T is everywhere and New Jersey is terrible.
Well, and you gotta, I guess, I mean, it can't be that much of a stretch that by 2021 they could have like hard drive implants for your head.
Yeah, I mean, everything else like the dystopian future is ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and the techno dolphin.
Oh my God, that dolphin is gonna give me like that was scary. And it talks like not with words, but like dolphin sounds. And it's just in such a small tank.
Yeah,
and it's not just this is hey Dolphin Jones. The dolphin's name's Jones.
Yeah,
we need you to come talk to Keanu. Like it's just in this room.
Yeah,
always.
Yeah,
and it's always connected to the internet.
Oh Jesus.
Oh, but yeah, Johnny Mnemonic. I would definitely say check it out. It was crazy.
Awesome.
So that brings us to where normally we would read the responses to Ray's Random Request, but we're going to stretch it out for another week so everybody can get their what's your favorite sports movie question in.
Non-Sandlot.
That's not the Sandlot. The question is really popular and we just want to make sure everybody gets their voices heard. But going forward, Dan, do you have and I haven't. What's your Dan's Dastardly QuestDan for this week?
Oh man! So going along with the theme of kind of John Wick, in that I never would have seen this if other people hadn't told me about it. What's a movie that you saw that you didn't expect much from and it ended up being awesome? So I guess the question is, in a simpler form, is name a movie that you had low expectations for and you came out pleasantly surprised.
I've got a couple
and so
that, yeah.
kind of like John Wick for me as an example. The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. When I saw that preview, I was like, Tom Cruise is not a samurai, and it wasn't great, but it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be when I finally
hated
saw
The
it.
Last Samurai.
Oh, you did?
I hated it.
Like I said,
he got shot like 900 times in the 1800s and was fine.
Yeah, and I like I said, I didn't love it like I did John Wick, but it was much better than I thought it was going to be.
Without I guess giving up too many answers, I'd have to say yet another Keanu Reeves movie, Constantine. Me and my friend Matt went to go see that in theaters thinking it was going to suck. It was great.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Constantine is awesome.
And it's another one where he pretty much wears a black suit the
He wears
entire time.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, that's the man has a shtick, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And another movie where, you know, Tilda Swinton shows up, you know?
Yeah, that's like one of her first big things.
Yeah.
Yeah, costumes.
Right
awesome.
around, I guess she did The Beach before that, maybe? And that was probably about it. With the Leonardo DiCaprio movie? Yeah.
I like that movie.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody hated it. I didn't really know why.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you're listening to us on the Podcast Radio Network, thanks for tuning in. You can find us here every Wednesday night at 10:30 following the Let's Talk Flicks podcast. If you're interested in listening to more from the This Week in Film guys, you can find us on just about every podcasting app there is. If we don't exist on one at this point, let us know and we'll get on it. Because I'm tired of saying SoundCloud, Twitter, and Stitcher, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer Dan's dastardly question, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, or visit our website at thisweekinfilmpodcast.com. We're really starting to build up the website, and it looks great. The guy who does all the work on that is some sort of internet wizard.
Mm-hmm.
It's really basic. And Dan, you have anything to add?
I just want to
plugs.
Yeah, I actually do have something to plug this week.
Did they pay the This Week in Film fee?
They did not, but
Sounds like they did.
Just doing somebody a solid here.
Sure.
But yeah, they'll repay me in kind. But no, I want to plug the Swirl podcast. It's done by Cody Seaton and a girl named Ruby. The basic premise is single, gay, black men living in the city and married, straight, white girl living in rural Pennsylvania get together and talk about life and all sorts of things. And they're in their third week. They just finished up episode 3, and they're kind of really hitting their stride, and they're available in all the same places that This Week in Film podcast is available to. So give the Swirl podcast a listen. It's pretty great, and it's pretty funny. And just want to say hello to my wife, Emily, and thank her for allowing me to join This Week in Film again this week while she sits at home with our newborn, and say hello to Christina, our 4-month-old daughter now. That's about it.
4 months.
Yeah. So, yeah, and thank you, Nick, for having me on again. It's always a blast.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for being on the show. And I'd like to thank our audience. It's my son, Alex, is here. Alex, do you have anything that you want to say?
So there's like an Iron Man bobblehead in my bedroom with an Iron Man night.
Dynamite drop in, Alex. We're all excited about your Iron Man bobblehead nightlight. All right. Well, if that's the end of the reel, we'll see you next week in film.